The power of dry fasting in Ramadan, science, spirituality, and self-discipline. Brothers and sisters, I want to share something truly fascinating with you. From my own experience, I can tell you that there is something incredibly powerful about fasting, especially dry fasting. Now, I won't point to a specific scientific article for every statement I make, but subhanallah, when I went online and started researching, I found an overwhelming number of studies and articles, an absolute treasure trove of literature on the benefits of dry fasting. For those who may not be familiar, dry fasting refers to the type of fasting where you abstain not only from food but also from drinking water. As Muslims, this is exactly what we do during Ramadan. From the very first light of dawn until the moment the sun sets, we refrain from both food and drink. This is what is known as dry fasting. The importance of being scientifically literate. Now, I always encourage my dear brothers and sisters to develop a strong understanding of science, to be scientifically literate. Unfortunately, I've seen many instances online where some of our fellow Muslims engage in discussions about fasting and Islam with people who are well versed in science, yet they are not prepared. They enter debates, quoting Quranic verses and Islamic teachings without truly grasping the scientific principles behind them. They think they've won the argument, but as I listen, I realize that they've actually made mistakes in their reasoning. I wish more Muslims would take the time to properly study science, to really understand how scientific research is conducted, and to appreciate the depth of evidence-based studies. If you don't know something for sure, it's always better to ask or remain silent rather than misrepresent facts. We live in an age where information is abundant, yet misinformation is also widespread. So let's take a more informed approach and equip ourselves with knowledge. Scientific research on the emotional and spiritual benefits of fasting. One of the areas that really caught my attention in my research was the study of emotional intelligence and what I like to call spiritual intelligence, the way our faith, Iman, interweaves with our emotions and mental well-being. Ramadan brings about a profound transformation within us. If you fasted before, you'll know that at the start, the body experiences a bit of a shock. It's not easy. In those initial days, fatigue sets in, energy levels drop, and blood pressure can decrease. When you're not drinking water, especially in hot weather, your blood sugar levels decline, and as a result, you may experience headaches. But here's where things start getting interesting. After about 3 to 4 days, the body begins to adapt. The discomfort fades as your system gets accustomed to the fasting state. At this stage, the immune system begins to strengthen, becoming more active. The body initiates internal healing mechanisms, removing harmful toxins and regenerating itself. The 3 phases of physical and mental adaptation. Initial adjustment phase, first few days. This is when the body goes through withdrawal from habitual eating and drinking patterns. You may feel lethargic, irritable, or even experience mood swings. But this is temporary. Cleansing and strengthening phase, middle of Ramadan. The immune system kicks into action, targeting harmful bacteria, microbes, and even dormant viruses that have been lingering in the body. There's a natural process in which the immune system starts eliminating toxins, including certain proteins called cytokines. These proteins play a role in immune responses, but when they accumulate unnecessarily, they can cause chronic inflammation. Fasting helps regulate this process and clear out excess cytokines, leading to better overall health. Peak performance phase, last 10 days of Ramadan. By this stage, the body has fully adapted to fasting. Energy levels stabilize and many people feel even more energized than before. That's why the Prophet Muhammad encouraged us to increase our worship during the last 10 nights of Ramadan. He knew that by this time the body would be in a state of heightened readiness both physically and spiritually. The psychological benefits, developing patience and emotional intelligence. Now, let's talk about something truly amazing: how fasting strengthens our self-control and patience. When you're fasting, there will be moments of frustration. Maybe you'll get into an argument with your spouse, your children, your parents, or a neighbor. Maybe someone cuts you off while driving and you feel that impulse to honk aggressively or yell in frustration. Perhaps you're at the supermarket, and someone is moving too slowly with their shopping cart, blocking your way. During Ramadan, these small moments of irritation can feel amplified. The hunger, thirst, and fatigue can make emotions run high. But this is where the real test begins. Ramadan teaches us to resist our impulses, to control our reactions, and to develop patience. If we can resist food and water, the very necessities of life, then surely we can resist anger, impatience, and negative emotions. This is the essence of emotional intelligence. It's about mastering the self, rather than allowing emotions to dictate our actions. And when you succeed in this, when you consciously choose sabr, patience, over frustration, you feel a deep sense of accomplishment. Just like how exercising builds muscle by pushing through resistance, controlling your emotions strengthens your character. The scientific debate, addressing common misconceptions about fasting. Now, in today's world, where we live in societies that are heavily influenced by scientific discourse, we often hear criticisms of fasting. But let's take a step back and look at the reality. There are nearly 2 billion Muslims worldwide, and every year, at least 3/4 of them fast during Ramadan. And we have been doing this for 1,400 years. If fasting were truly dangerous, wouldn't we have seen significant health crises among Muslims? Wouldn't hospitals be flooded with people suffering from fasting-related complications? But that's not the case. In fact, modern scientific studies are proving what Islam has already taught us: fasting has remarkable health benefits. Scientific studies on the health benefits of fasting. I came across several peer-reviewed studies on this topic. For those unfamiliar with the term, peer-reviewed means that these studies have been rigorously evaluated by other experts in the field before being published. This ensures that the findings are credible and reliable. One fascinating study, published in 2024, titled "Dawn to Dusk Dry Fasting Decreases Circulating Inflammatory Cytokines," found that dry fasting actually reduces inflammation in the body. Another study examined the effects of fasting on glucose, metabolism, and hydration levels, and concluded that fasting does not lead to harmful dehydration. Institutions like the National Center for Biotechnology, Information, NCBI, and Science Direct have published multiple articles demonstrating the benefits of fasting. They show that fasting improves metabolism, supports detoxification, enhances brain function, and even helps with weight management. Final thoughts. The wisdom of fasting. Brothers and sisters, fasting is not just about abstaining from food and drink. It is a complete system for spiritual, emotional, and physical purification. It strengthens our bodies, sharpens our minds, and purifies our souls. So, as we enter this blessed month of Ramadan, let's make the most of it. Let's not just fast with our stomachs, let's fast with our tongues, our thoughts, and our actions. Let's develop patience, control our emotions, and strive to become better versions of ourselves. May Allah accept our fasting, grant us patience, and elevate our ranks in this world and the next. Ameen. A journey of self-discipline and spiritual growth. Fasting is not merely about abstaining from food and drink. It is a comprehensive training program designed by Allah to help us master our desires, discipline our bodies, and elevate our souls. Think about it: when we fast, we are resisting one of the most fundamental human needs, sustenance. If we can control our hunger and thirst for the sake of Allah, then surely we can control our words, our anger, our impulses, and our negative habits. But Ramadan is not just about individual self-discipline. It also fosters a deep sense of empathy. When we go without food, we begin to understand the struggle of those who do not have the luxury of breaking their fast with a feast. We feel what the poor and needy experience daily, and this awareness softens our hearts. It inspires us to be more charitable, more compassionate, and more grateful for the blessings we often take for granted. How fasting trains the mind and soul. One of the most powerful aspects of fasting is how it conditions our minds. Have you ever noticed how much more aware you become of your own behavior during Ramadan? Suddenly, we become mindful of our words, careful not to speak harshly or engage in idle talk. We monitor our actions more closely, striving to avoid sins that we might otherwise overlook. This heightened self-awareness is what scholars call taqwa, God consciousness. And what is the purpose of fasting, as stated in the Quran? O you who have believed, decreed upon you is fasting as it was decreed upon those before you, that you may attain taqwa. Surah Al-Baqarah 2-183. The goal of fasting is to cultivate taqwa, to develop a heightened awareness of Allah in our daily lives. When we fast sincerely, we are constantly reminded of Him. Every time we feel hunger pangs, every moment we long for a sip of water, we remember that we are doing this for the sake of our Creator. The psychological shift in the last 10 days? By the last 10 nights of Ramadan, something remarkable happens. We enter what I call the zone of spiritual elevation. In the beginning, fasting is physically demanding. But by the last third of Ramadan, the struggle shifts from the physical to the spiritual. Our bodies have already adjusted, and now our focus intensifies on worship, self-reflection, and devotion. This is why Prophet Muhammad would exert himself even more during the last 10 nights. He would increase his prayers, intensify his supplications, and dedicate himself completely to seeking the mercy of Allah. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. This is a lesson for all of us. If we truly want to make the most of Ramadan, we should push ourselves in the final stretch. It's like a runner nearing the finish line. You don't slow down, you sprint forward with all your might. The social and community impact of fasting. Beyond personal benefits, fasting strengthens the bonds of our community. Have you ever noticed how Ramadan unites people in a way that no other time of the year does? Families gather for iftar, masjids are filled with worshippers for Taraweeh, and a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood fills the air. There is something incredibly beautiful about breaking fast together, sharing meals and standing shoulder to shoulder in prayer. Even non-Muslims often take an interest in Ramadan, witnessing the discipline and devotion of the Muslim community. Some are so inspired that they even try fasting themselves, experiencing firsthand the physical and spiritual benefits. Scientific evidence supporting Ramadan fasting? Let's revisit some of the cutting-edge research on fasting. One of the fascinating aspects of dry fasting is how it activates a process known as autophagy. Autophagy is the body's natural way of detoxifying and regenerating itself. When we fast, our cells begin a process of self-cleaning, breaking down and removing damaged components. This not only enhances cellular function but also helps in preventing diseases, including neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's. A 2016 study by Japanese scientist Yoshinori Osumi, which won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine, highlighted the immense health benefits of fasting-induced autophagy. This process removes toxins from the body, repairs damaged cells, boosts brain function, enhances longevity. Another study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that fasting improves insulin sensitivity and reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes. It also helps regulate cholesterol levels and supports cardiovascular health. So, when people ask, is fasting unhealthy? The science is clear it is not only safe but actually beneficial when done correctly. The wisdom of fasting from an Islamic perspective. What makes Islam so incredible is that everything Allah has commanded us to do is for our benefit. Whether it is prayer, charity, or fasting, every act of worship carries both spiritual and worldly benefits. And fasting, in particular, is a gift from Allah. It teaches us self-restraint, strengthens our discipline, purifies our bodies, and elevates our souls. Prophet Muhammad said, "Every action of the son of Adam is for him except for fasting. It is for me, and I will reward it." Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. This means that fasting holds a special place with Allah. It is an act of worship done purely for His sake, and its reward is beyond measure. Making the most of Ramadan, a practical guide. Now that we understand the immense benefits of fasting, both scientifically and spiritually, let's talk about how we can maximize our Ramadan experience. 1. Prepare mentally and spiritually. Before Ramadan begins, set clear intentions. Make dua that Allah allows you to benefit fully from this blessed month. To control your reactions, make a commitment to control your temper, resist negative thoughts, and practice patience. Remember, fasting isn't just about food, it's about character. 3. Optimize your diet. When breaking your fast, avoid unhealthy foods. Eat nutritious meals that sustain your energy and keep you hydrated. 4. Increase your worship. Spend more time in prayer, reading Quran, and making dhikr. The more effort you put in, the greater the reward. 5. Give in charity. Use Ramadan as an opportunity to help those in need. Whether it's feeding the poor or donating to a cause, your charity is multiplied in reward. 6. Make dua. The last 10 nights are a golden opportunity to seek forgiveness and ask for Allah's blessings. Make dua with sincerity and strive to catch Laylatul Qadr. Final words: Ramadan is a life-changing experience. Brothers and sisters, Ramadan is not just a ritual, it is a transformative experience. It is an opportunity to purify our hearts, strengthen our faith, and realign our lives with our true purpose. Let's make this Ramadan different. Let's fast not just with our bodies, but with our hearts, minds, and souls. Let's emerge from this month as better, stronger, and more spiritually aware individuals. May Allah accept our fasting, grant us strength, and guide us toward His mercy and forgiveness. Ameen. Jazakum Allahu khairan.